Welcome to your first lecture, your first day. Let's talk about your life at our school. At first, you need to register at our courses. If you will have any troubles with registration at platform or with choosing of our courses, you need just to write an email for us or use support at a platform or use Telegram channel or any other contacts at our site. Next, you need to review all materials at our courses, all tasks and all additional materials. But even after finishing of all materials, it will be a start for your real learning, for your real growth, because you need to use interactive part for your questions from real work examples, from real business examples. And please be free to ask any questions and provide any feedback to us, because for us is important your understanding of all materials, and for us is very important that all courses is enough for your growth. Next part, after finishing of courses, for example, if you finish free programs, you may just use name of programs at your CV or at LinkedIn. If you finish paid courses, you may download certificate from Udemy or other platform, or also you may write us and we will provide to you RBS type of diploma. That will be a digital diploma about finishing of your program. Also, if you want paper-based diploma, you also may write us, and with some standard fee for delivery, we will provide a paper-based diploma to you. Also, in case if you will finish paid programs, we are able to provide a student ID for you. And if you will finish also capstone project, we also will provide program record and recommendation letter for you. Please also use all opportunities for your career, for some additional contacts with employers. You may use information about our diplomas at your LinkedIn, at your CV. You may post information about finishing of our programs at LinkedIn, Facebook, and also interactive part and networking is a really important thing for your career. And you may join our alumni and student chat at Telegram. You may post information about you at our alumni page. And also, even after finishing of our courses, please join our channels for following of our news and for usage that information for joining of our new course. We will be happy to see you at our courses.
Hi there, and welcome to the second section of this course, Getting Started with Python. In this section, you will learn how to answer these questions. Where can you write your code? How to download and configure IDE? What are web-based alternatives to IDE? How to use working space and console? What is Python's syntax? And finally, how to write your first Hello World. Lessons in this section include code, interpreters and IDEs, setting up Anaconda, web-based alternatives to IDEs, navigating the IDE, reading the code, let's greet the world, and finally, section conclusion. Thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next first lesson of this section, code, interpreters and IDEs. Hi there, and a warm welcome to the lesson Code, Interpreters, and IDEs. So, in the previous lessons, you may wondered what even is code that we are always talking about. So, essentially, code is just a bunch of words, bunch of letters that are meaningless. But thanks to computer magic, the machine, being our computer, can translate it to language that it understands. This being binary code. Provided, of course, you follow some rules. This is, you're writing in recognized programming language, for example, Python. So the code is just a set of instructions that you tell a computer to execute. So talking about code, I want to remind you some of the two most important characteristics of code in Python. So firstly, it uses significant indentation. So as a way of differentiating lines of code, components of different control structures, loops, etc., Python uses just indents instead of brackets and semicolons. So the second characteristic is that it is English-alike. And the syntax of Python resembles English language, so it is understandable to the international audience. So you can understand it without remembering a lot of words and functions. You'll see this in the moment. And here I will introduce you to a new term, keyword. What is a keyword? Keyword is a word that is so important to programming language, to its syntax, that you can't simply use it as a variable name, data structure name, or function name. If you want to use this exact word, you have to put some number, some symbol to it, so the programming language, the interpreter, doesn't mistake it as an instruction. So here I won't read you all of the keywords that you can meet in Python, but you have a table of it in this slide. You may memorize it if you want, you may learn it by heart, but if you don't want to, it's okay, because if you mistakenly use some of the keywords that are here in your coding, the IDE or the interpreter will just show you an error message, and it will remind you that you used forbidden word to name a variable or name a data structure, etc. So you don't have to learn it by heart, really. Here you can see an example code in Python and what does it look like. And by now you don't have to know what it means, what does this function does, but if you want to, you can try to understand. It is a nice exercise because, as I said earlier, Python's syntax is very much English-alike. So just by reading the words, you can understand what this means. And as you can see here also, it doesn't use semicolons, it doesn't use brackets. I mean, it does use parentheses, but it is different. It doesn't use brackets, like, for example, C-based languages do. And it does just use indentation. So you can pause the screen if you want and look at it for a while, so you may familiarize yourself with code in Python, but we'll talk more about it in the next lessons that will talk about code literacy. So what do you need to start coding? And this question is much trickier than it seems. In theory, you only need a notepad and your knowledge. But then you probably would also like to run your code, test it for bugs, or try out your code on some sample data. That's why you need interpreters and IDEs. Firstly, we'll talk about interpreters. And interpreters may be helpful if you happen to cannot write in binary, and of course, most of us cannot. And that's why we have interpreters. To explain it a little bit more, I will use an anecdote. So think of it as asking an alien to go and grab some coffee. So you are speaking, for example, English or your native language, and it speaks, of course, Martian because he is from Mars. And you can't speak Martian, but fortunately, there is a translator who can speak Martian, but he can't speak English. But he speaks in Portuguese, and you also speak in Portuguese. So you translate English into Portuguese, and he translates Portuguese into Martian. And yeah, I know, as for an anecdote that is meant to be easier to understand, It is quite complicated, but I assure you it works. How? I will show in a second. So, in this anecdote, the translator is, of course, the interpreter, and Portuguese is Python, and Martian is binary code. So, you don't really want to invite Martian for a coffee, but you want to tell your computer to execute some instructions. So, you write it in Python, and the interpreter translates Python to binary code that computers understands. And without the interpreter, the Python code is just a bunch of text that means nothing. And then, okay, you have interpreters, you have your notebooks, you have your knowledge, but writing code into notebook and then feeding it right to the interpreter may still be difficult, as you would have to write error-proof code in the first try. And that's when the IDEs come into play. And what is an IDE? An IDE is your helpful tool in writing code. An IDE, or Integrated Development Environment, is a software application that provides a comprehensive environment for programming. It typically includes a code editor, debugger, and other tools that help developers write, debug, and test their code. IDEs are helpful because they provide a unified interface for all the tools a developer needs, making the development process more efficient and productive. Additionally, IDEs often have features like auto-completing the code and syntax highlighting that help developers write code more quickly and accurately. Overall, IDEs are essential tools for modern software development. Thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next lesson, Setting Up Anaconda.
Hi there, and welcome to the lesson Setting up Anaconda. In this lesson, I will show you how to install the Anaconda distribution software to your personal computer and how to set it up for Python. There are a lot of other options for installing the IDEs, so you can install your preferred IDE outside of Anaconda distribution software, but here I will be showing how to install IDEs inside of the Anaconda distribution because I think it is the most intuitive and the simplest way for beginners. But if you have experience with other IDEs, go ahead, you can install it by yourself. Part 1. Installing Anaconda. This lesson may be a little bit longer than usual, so grab yourself a coffee or a cup of tea and we will get back to work. Firstly, in your preferred browser, type in the links shown below, so anaconda.com/download. Then download the software by clicking the respective button, depending on your operating system. So here I will be downloading the Windows version, exactly the Windows 64-bit version, but if you have different operating system, so for example Linux, the download buttons will be below the circle button. After downloading the setup file, look for it in your download folder. Mine looks something like this, but if you have different operating system and you are downloading this software on different date than me, just go ahead and it will look a little different but similar. Next, click on the downloaded setup file and go with the installation according to the instruction from installation setup and wait for the installation to finish. After successful installation, Anaconda will open automatically, and congratulations! Now you have installed Anaconda on your PC. And since we have Anaconda distributions on our PCs, now we have to configure it for Python. Open Anaconda navigation And then, for optimal use, I suggest logging in or registering your account. Unfortunately, there are no options to log in using Google account or Facebook credentials. So you have to go to the Anaconda website to register your account. But since you will be on the Anaconda website, just have a quick look around. There are a lot of resourceful and helpful tutorials about how to use Anaconda software, and you can take a course or two about using Anaconda software for data science or for Python programming or for different usage. You may get prompted to update Anaconda to the newest version, and for optimal use, I suggest we do so. So always have the newest version because of the security and because of the added features. Here, I will be showing you how the Anaconda Navigator app looks inside. So you have a different applications in there. You can scroll down and look what you can do in here. So you have Oracle, you have Anaconda apps, you have Orange Free, RStudio, PyCharm, and a lot of other software. You can filter the applications by installed applications. So here you will see only applications that you have installed on your computer. Then you can look at not installed applications that you have yet to install, and now you can look at updatable applications. So the applications then you can update that are out of date. And here I'll be showing you 3 different ways that you can start programming in Python using Anaconda Navigator distribution. And firstly, you will be looking at Anaconda CMD, the most primitive, but for me the simplest way to start programming in Python. You have to look for cmd.accept prompt and launch it from Anaconda Navigator. And the Anaconda CMD will open. Now you have to type in Python to start programming in Python, because you can program in different languages here, and test it out using the simple function like print, for example. So I wrote here it works, and clicking enter, yeah, it works. So Anaconda CMD is the simplest way to start programming, but remember, you have to type in Python first, so the CMD knows that you will be programming in Python. But I know it is not nice to look at, it is sturdy, and it is maybe hard to understand for someone that didn't work in the Windows console earlier. So now I will show you Qt console, which works similar, but is a lot of nicer to look at, and also has a little bit more functionality and has a little bit more easy to digest overlook. So look for Qt console in Anaconda Navigator, and when you locate it, just launch it by clicking the button and wait for it to start. After starting, it may take a while, but as you can see here, I can already start the program. And as well, I wrote a simple function, the print function, to test it out, whether it works. And as you can see, it works as well. You just have to click enter. And using Qt console, you don't have to remember to type in Python first, because Qt console is set to Python by default. So you don't have to write Python in the beginning. You just program in Python right ahead. And last but not the least, Spider IDE. Spider IDE is the most complex of the 3, and you can use it for more complex coding, for example, writing applications, writing functions that you want to use later. So, for example, writing applications that you can share with someone or just reuse for different data. But since it is more complex, it will take a little time to start, and the code will have to execute for a little. And for simple scripting, I recommend using the previous two, but we'll be using Spider IDE as well, because we'll get to more complex topics later in this course. So you have to locate Spider IDE in your Anaconda Navigator, but It will not always launch directly from Anaconda Navigator. It is an error of the software which will be resolved in future, I hope. But don't worry, if Spider will not launch in Anaconda Navigator, you can just search for it using your search bar and start it from there. It is installed during Anaconda installation. So as you can see, the window opened and the look is a little bit more complex because you have a lot of functions there, a lot of functionality. We wrote a simple print function to test whether it works, and as you can see, it worked as well. But it is a little more complex, and and it can take a little time for code to execute. And if you want to execute code, you can execute it by line or by selected lines or just by one cell. There are also other IDEs and tools to script and code in Python, for example, Visual Studio Code or Atom. But I showed you just the three that we will be using in this course. But if you prefer other IDEs and you are also already familiar with them, just go ahead. You can use what IDE you want. I will be using the Spider IDE, and for simple scripting, I will be using Qt Console or Anaconda CMD. But if you have passion for programming, you can search in the internet for other IDEs and familiarize yourself with as many as you want. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next lesson, web-based alternatives to IDEs.
Hi there, and warm welcome to the lesson Web-based alternatives to IDEs. So, coding in the web? Yep, it seems strange, it sounds strange, but I assure you, it is sure helpful. Sometimes you may not be able to download an IDE, and that's when the internet comes to rescue. For example, you are in work and cannot install IDE on your computer because of company policies or just some restrictions, or you just want to code on your smartphone, or you just don't want to open another application and slow down your RAM. Just open one of many dedicated websites and code there. It is beautiful power of the internet. And the first alternative that we will be talking about is python.org. And well, it is more of an web-based interpreter than web-based IDE because it is simple and it is built simple. It doesn't have much functions, but for simple coding, it is just enough. So to get into python.org website, you have to firstly open your browser and in your search bar, type www.python.org/shell. I highlighted the link here, and the window, just like here, should open. And it is important to mention that it is not powered by python.org, it is powered by Python Anywhere, just to mention if you are curious. And to start coding here, you just have to type in some instruction that you want to execute. So for example, you can type a simple print function. So here I wrote print Python works in Python's shell. And to execute the code, you have just to click enter. And as you can see here, it executed quickly, it executed beautifully, and nothing more to expect of it. And yeah, for simple tasks, this is just enough. You don't need any more complex IDE, or just you don't have to open your application installed on your computer. If you are in rush, you just can go there, and the simple code can be executed here without worries. And maybe it is nice to know that python.org is official Python's website. So you can see here also a lot of resources that may be helpful for you and your journey into programming in Python. The second web-based interpreter, because it is still not as advanced, not as sophisticated to be called an IDE, is onlinepython.com. As you can see here, it is much nicer to look at, and to go there you have to type in onlinepython.com in your search bar. As you can see here, it has already some instruction to test it, but we will write also a print just to add something from us to show you that it is not fake. So I wrote Python, onlinepython.com works, and to execute the code, you have to click the run button and wait a little. So firstly, it executes the instruction that was written earlier. So here we are adding numbers, and I wrote some numbers that I tested it on. And as you can see here, it added the numbers, it worked, the calculation is okay, and it also printed our onlinepython.com works. So as you see here, it is more sophisticated, but still not as sophisticated to be called an IDE. But for me personally, onlinepython.com is nicer to look at, and I just prefer it more than python.org, but it's just a matter of personal preference. So then the last one that we'll be talking about here, not the last in the internet, because there are much more there is much more to it than just these free web-based IDEs, web-based interpreters, but I think that these three are enough to get you into it. And if you don't like any of this, you can just search for some web-based IDE, web-based interpreter yourself. So here, programmist.com is the most sophisticated of the three, and you will see yourself. So to get there, it's a little more complex, a little more complicated. You have to go into programmist.com website, and here you see a lot of stuff. You can search around, but to get to an ID, you have to choose Python programming, then choose compiler. Interpreter is also called a compiler in some sources. So here it also is loaded with hello world. You can taste it, but you have a lot of options there. It has save, it has run, and as you can see on the ribbon on the left, it has different programming languages that you can work in. And here I wrote programmist online compiler works to test it, as we always do, and click run. As you can see, it worked beautifully, but it has a lot more options. For example, here I was taken to a more complex version of the programmist.com compiler. It is more of an IDE, really. And as you see here, it is preloaded with much difficult function just to show its power. And after clicking run and waiting for a little, because it is a complex program, you can see here just how powerful it is. And you can do a lot of stuff there. You can add files, add data, upload files. So you can work on data actually in this IDE. And also you can save your program, but you have to log in first or register. It is important to mention that sometimes not all functions may be free. Some functions may be behind the paywall because Programs is a paid website, but a lot of functions there are free for the user. But if you like the Programmist Pro, compiler, IDE, or just other functions, for example, Programmist.pro Learning, that they have a lot of learning resources, you can buy yourself a subscription, but it is not required in this course, of course, and this course doesn't require any payment outside of the course fee, of course. So yeah, this was the free web-based alternatives to IDEs that I wanted to show you and you may use it in this course. If you don't want to download Anaconda, it will be just enough. For more complex programming, you can use Programmist IDE, and for the simpler tasks, you may use OnlinePython or Python.org. So if you don't want to download Anaconda, it will work just fine. And thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next lesson, navigating the IDE. Hi there, and warm welcome to the lesson Navigating the IDE. In this lesson, I will show you a quick walk around of the Spider IDE, how to use it, and what are some different functions of it, and how can you use it for coding in Python. Also, I will show you where is the output window, where is the input window, and where is the workspace, of course. So just quickly, let's go to the lesson. As you can see here, it is Spider IDE, and you can see also here a version of Python that we are working with. And here there is already some sample code. We'll be working on it in later lesson, code literacy. But here we'll use it also to play a little number game, a simple guess the random number game. So it is the workspace you will be using to write your code in. And of course, you can write in here, you can type some text in here. You can also type in some comments in here. So for example, just use a simple print, of course. And it, as you can see, it highlights comments, it highlights the numbers. So it is your workspace. You'll be working in here, you're writing your code, writing your programs. Here you have the output window, and already there is some output because I played the game earlier just to make sure that it works. You can also get input there, and here you have the usage report. It will show you some metrics. And as you can see here, there are some different bars that you can drill down into. There is a file, and of course you can create a new file, open recent files. From there you'll be using it a lot. You can save files, of course, save all, save as, save copies. Also you have the option to revert, which I don't use using because it reverts the Python file from your disk, so it removes it permanently. And here you can also print and preview your print, close Windows, and close, of course, Python, restart Python, IDE, Spider IDE, of course, and quit. Here you have the edit bar, edit list, and now we have only paste and select all. But if you uncheck the code that is currently, we'll have a lot of other actions there. So as you can see here, now we can undo our action. And if we undo our action, we can of course also redo our action. So you can have also the ability to comment, uncomment. So you can write something for your future self to look at and to give a little context. You can also indent, unindent, and you have also ability to indent and unindent from your keyboard. You have a search bar, so you can search something in your code. Here we highlighted all of the print commands in our code. And of course you have ability to find next and replace. Also, here's the source list, and it's not, here you can show blank spaces, show at the end, and also you can see your last edit location and save cursor location. Here you have a run list, and you can do a lot from there. You can run cell, run last cell, run line, and run script. So you have a lot of ability to run there. And you'll be using it a lot because it checks your code, it runs your code. Of course, here you have the debug list, so you can debug from there to record works where our bugs are. So you can spin in different modes. Here you have a console, so you can restart kernel. So for example, it's when the program doesn't work and it should work, you can restart. Here you have a project, so when you combine different Python pipes into one big application, one big project. Here you have some tools, and the view page, of course, to update some layers to your preference, and also the help list to help you with some tutorials, with some questions, problems that you may have. So here we'll also run our little code bar. First, we'll untick the print, so it will be cleaner. And as you can see here, we have also run the code and do other things. The most important things from there, we'll run our file. You can also do this using F5. And here our number game appeared in the output window. As you can see here, the text appeared and it asks us for input. You can see also file location. So you can write input there. So we'll write some number and play a little game. I don't know the output, so I don't know how quickly I will guess the right number. So 52 is too low and 80 is too high. So for example, write 60, 60 is low. So 79, 79 is too high. Maybe 70 will work, too low, okay, so 75, and we guess the number. So yes, you can see here the output came from this window. And we already wrote the input there. So it will be, you will be using it a lot also, but you can get your input from file. Also, if you don't want to type manually or the input is really, really high in numbers, or you have a lot of things to input, you can input the file. We'll learn about it in the next sections. But here you have a quick way to input some just sample numbers to test your program on, for example. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for viewing. I hope that this lesson finds you well and you will be able to do a simple task in Spider ID. You will know where all the buttons are after this lesson. And thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson, Code Literacy. Hi there, and welcome to the lesson Code Literacy. You may wonder, why even bother this much about theory? We have talked a lot about theory in the previous two sections, but where's the practice? Well, the theory is nothing without practice. This is true, but practice without the theory is even worse. Other Python courses may begin with coding right away, but it is not the best approach. That is why this course begins not with coding, but with two sections of introduction and theory. There will be also a lot of theory mixed even in the sections focused on programming. Professional programmer not only knows what to write, but most importantly, what is he writing. That's why we are focusing on different paradigms, syntax, and so on. Knowing the theory will also give an advantage during your programming interviews. And what is code literacy? And what its similarity with theory? Well, code literacy is just the ability to read the code with clear understanding. It will make your start into programming journey much easier, and you will move freely in the coding world. And also, it is important to mention that it is probably the most important lesson in the whole section. So please pay close attention because it will make your programming and coding in the future much easier. Have you ever heard about benchmarking? Well, you maybe have heard of benchmarking in business courses, for example, when you are benchmark some solution from different industry or from different company. But benchmarking is very present in the coding world, in the professional programming as well, because most of things have already been written. And when you have empty head about how to write a function, you can go to GitHub, to Stack Overflow, or other services and benchmark your solution with the help of Python community. The ability to understand what you just used is of critical value in this process, as you must fit the solution to your needs. So code literacy will help you with your benchmarking. If you have empty heads or you just need some idea for optimizing your function, your programs, you have to know how to read the code to fit the solution that you benchmarked from the internet to your program. Here, I'll show you how to interpret some code. So here we are, of course, in the part Spider ID, and we have some code that we already used. It is the number guessing game from the previous lesson. And as you can see here, we have some code in there, and it is very nicely edited. So it is perfect for explaining how to understand the code, how to read the code. Firstly, we have import and read. So what does it mean? You don't have to know just yet because we haven't talked about importing. We haven't talked about libraries, but here you have the word random. And if you remember, the syntax of Python is similar to English language, so it is probably something about randomizing. And it is the first step into coding literacy, into code literacy. You have to apply your English knowledge to coding. So importing is something about putting something into the program, and we put something random or something that will help us with randomizing. Here we clear our checkings. We can write it by writing anything into the workspace, and here you have the word import and you have the word random. The important thing is that the word import is in color and the random is white. This is because import is a keyword or just an important part to your program. It is not something that user wrote by himself. It is something that is of meaning to the program. So colored things are of the meaning to the program. We clear that thing again. Here you can see a hashtag. And what does the hashtag indicate? The hashtag indicates that the whole line is a comment. So some programmer wrote it, so you understand what is happening below. So he wrote here that it is generating a random number between 1 and 100. So you don't have to know by yourself what this function does, because he wrote us, he told us. And when you write something after hashtag, the program doesn't execute this line, so it is just to inform you. It doesn't execute. It doesn't compile. It does not bring any meaning to your program. Here we have a secret number. It is something that is not a keyword because it is in white. It is not colored by the ID. So we know that it isn't a keyword. And here we assign some function to our secret number variable. I can tell you this is variable. And here we have a function. And you don't have to know what it is doing because we will be talking about all of this in the next sections. I just want you to know that it is a statement that is generating a random number between 1 and 100. And these are the parameters, just as a trivia, because we'll be talking about it in the next sections. So here you have another comment. So it is telling us that we are initializing the number of tries. And again, it does not compile. So here we have attempts. So we can make a connotation that tries are the same, are a synonym of attempts. So for example, the coder here initializing the number of tries and number of the attempts by assigning 0 to the attempts variable. Clear? Okay, we'll go further. So here we have a print function, and you know the print function because we have used the print function earlier also. And as you can see here, there are parentheses. There's the print which is colored. It is because it is a keyword. And here we have also a colored text, and it isn't a keyword. When in Spider ID, the green indicates a string, so some words, and the print is of course the function. And here you have while true, and you will learn about loops in the next sections, but you can try to understand what is happening here. As you can see here, there are some indentation. So what does it mean that there is some indentation? There is a word try, and there is a word while. So as you can see here, it is all indented. It is all further from the edge. So in Python programming, when something is farther from the edge, so for example, try here, or the word below, it means that it depends on the word that's closer to the edge of the workspace, I can say. So when something is indented, you can interpret it as depending on something that is above it. So as you can see here, try is dependent of while, and all of the below is dependent on try, as you can see here. And here, except is not indented to the try, but it is indented to the while. So it depends on while, but it does not depend on try. So all of this depends on while, and while does not depend on anything. So you can see here what indentation does. It does not use brackets, it just uses indents. And here you have something that is close to the edge. So it is independent statement. It does not depend on while, it does not depend on try, it does not depend on anything. So as you see here, it is a code, it is nicely formatted, and as you see, you don't have to know what this all means, what this function does, to understand the syntax of this code and what depends on each other. The most important things are to remember that colored words are of meaning to the program. So for example, the keyword, or they are outputs as strings, for example, in the print statement. And the white with the words that IDE does not color, there are something that user written, user defined. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this lesson will help you in your programming journey. You will be able to read the code flawlessly. And I hope that see you in the next lesson. Let's greet the world, where we will start coding. It will be your first coding exercise. Hi there, and welcome to the lesson Let's Greet the World. Here, you will learn all about the print function. And also, you will learn how to write your very own first hello world. So, let's get to the lesson. We will be working in Anaconda prompt, since it's just a simpler than the complex IDE, and it is simpler to show. But first, we have to let it know that we are working in Python. So let's click enter, and now we can start coding. We'll start with simple print without any arguments passed. So let's just write it, and we are now passing any argument, and hit enter. And as you can see, it did nothing. So we have to pass some kind of an argument. So let's start with hello world. It's a well-known phrase by every programmer. You will know it if you have taken any programming courses in the past. So let's write print and hello world, and let's hit enter. And as you can see, it is hello world. You have written your very own first hello world. And now print function works also with numbers, so it doesn't have to be only words. So you can write, for example, print 1, 2, 3, and you can close the parentheses and hit enter, and it wrote 1, 2, 3 as well. And it can also print logical statements. For example, 123 is greater than 122. So let's check if that works. And it assessed it as true. So it works. And it can also do simple addition. And not only simple addition, but multiplication too. But we'll try on simple addition. So it works. It printed 2. And 1 plus 1 is 2, of course. And then are also some special characters, special phrases that let you print something called endline. So here it is /n, and /n prints endline, and you will see in a moment what does it mean. And of course we have to close it. Sorry for the mistake. And we'll close it in a second and write the closing parenthesis. And let's click enter. And as you can see, endline has printed, and they are in 2 separate lines. So hello and world are in 2 separate lines because we have printed an endline after hello, and you can use it as many times as you want in one sentence. So here we will write print hello to the whole world, but we'll write it in 3 different lines. So hello /n to the whole and /n world. And let's close it and press enter. And as you can see, it printed in 3 different lines. And you can use it to write very funny statements. Not funny, but useful. It is very useful to writing things in multiple lines, to distinguish different sentences. And there are also other special characters other than /n that write you, for example, indent or tab or a new page. But here /n is good for now. It is enough. And in the coding exercise, you'll have the ability to test your creativity and also your mastery of the print function, as I would say. And you'll have a task to print some basic shapes using print function and /n. And that's all for this lesson. And thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next lesson, section conclusion. Hi there, and welcome to the last lesson of this section, section conclusion. After completing this section and watching all of the lectures, you should be able to answer all of these questions. Where can you write your code? How to download and configure the IDE? What are some of the web-based alternatives to IDEs? How to use working space and console? What is Python syntax? And finally, how to write your first hello world. I included a quick summary of this section. Code is an instruction given by user to the machine. Interpreter translates programming language into machine code that your computer understands. IDE is a computer program that helps you with writing complex code. Code literacy is an ability to read the code with understanding. And finally, /n allows you to print statements in different lines. Thank you very much for attending this section, and see you in the next sections, variables and data types.
Welcome to our interactive part. You finished all materials of our course, but next step is really important. It's step about interactive learning, it's step about networking, and it's really a point of your real growth. We'll be very happy to see your feedback to our course, your emails, your question to professor. Please use any channels at our site. Please join Telegram channel for our alumni and for our students, or just use email to write us your questions about your real life, about your real business examples, because for us is very important not only theoretical but practical knowledge. For us it's very important to understand which task you need to resolve at your real work, and provide to you real frameworks, real knowledge, real best practice to achievement of all your plans. We will be very happy to support you at your career, at your business and your work, and we will be very open to all your questions.
Hi, and welcome to the course Intro to Python for Statistics. Firstly, I want to tell you a little about myself. I am Stanisław, and I will be your instructor for this course. I'm a long-time tutor and researcher in fields of statistics, statistical computing, econometrics, and mathematics. I have professional experience not only in statistics, but also in business intelligence, data analytics and data science, and project management. I am so excited to teach you this course, because teaching is my passion, and so is learning. Maybe you wonder, what will you learn in this course? What will you learn here? After finishing this course, I want you to be able to answer all of the following questions. What is Python, and why is it so popular? Where can it be used? How to prepare Python IDE for work? What are basic data types and structures? How to import data to Python? How to use loops and functions? What are the most important libraries in Python? And finally, how can Python help us with statistics, and why is it helpful for your business? I want you to get familiar with the structure of this course. Firstly, you have video lessons, just like this one. Here, you will learn the theory, and I will show you the Python in action. Then, you have the ability to self-practice. After getting the know-how, I encourage you to try to apply your newly obtained skills into practice. And lastly, you have the knowledge checks. At the end of each section, you will have the ability to check your knowledge by taking short quizzes. This course is divided into easy-to-digest sections, in which I will explain all the important topics. Be sure to go with the right order, as each section will build on the previous ones. The sections are as follows: Introduction to Python, Getting started with Python, Variables and data types, Data structures, Importing, cleaning, and wrapping data, Loops and control structures, Libraries and user-defined functions, Basic statistics in Python, Hypothesis testing in Python, and finally, wrap-up and next steps. No prior programming experience nor knowledge is required. You should have basic knowledge of statistics, including central tendencies, dispersion tendencies, and basic graphs. Knowledge of hypothesis testing is nice to have, but not required. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next section, Introduction to Python.
Our course will be focusing on real life knowledge about business development. It will be interesting for anybody who want to launch your own business, or even if you work at some large enterprise, large company, and you will be able to be responsible for business development, for business launching, for launching of some small areas at large business. That course will be interesting for you, and also that course will be interesting for anybody who want to build a career at business development. During our course, we'll talk about each step of business development and launching. We'll talk about business strategy, about finance, about marketing, about sales, about clients engagement, and about product development. For us, it's very important to provide to you real-life knowledge, real business knowledge, and useful frameworks for success at your business. And please be free to ask any questions about real situation, real examples from your work, from your business. We'll be happy to assist you at success at your work, at your life, and at your business.